Deep in Nepal's Terai Plains stands an ancient sentinel, the weathered Ashoka pillar, a silent inscription echoing across millennia to mark humanity's most transformative birth. This is Lumbini, a land that cradles the birthplace of Lord Buddha himself. But beneath this sacred land, a storm is brewing. Lumbini has morphed into a modern-day battleground, not for the soul, but for power, wealth, and dominance. Like vultures circling their prey, foreign power, corporate Mughals, and corrupt officials silently wage war with billions of dollars hanging in the balance for this UNESCO World Heritage site. Will the birthplace of the Enlightened One be swallowed by darkness and humanity's insatiable hunger for control? Tashitile, my name is Jigme, and I'm a Tibetan. My coverage about Lumbini begins with a seemingly harmless 2011 proposal by a Hong Kong-based Asia-Pacific Exchange and Cooperative Foundation, or APEF. Nepal's then former Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, popularly known by his nickname Prachanda, reportedly claimed that APEF had signed a memorandum of understanding with a United Nations office in Beijing for a $3 billion project to turn Lumbini into a Buddhist Disneyland.
Huh?
Yes, let me repeat that. $3 billion project to turn Lumbini into a Buddhist Disneyland, with the world's tallest Buddha statue, temples, hotels, convenience stores, and even an airport. Now, at first glance, this appeared to be a kind gesture to promote Buddhism. However, the absence of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama raised many red flags. The project also threatened to destroy the work of renowned Japanese architect Kenzo Tange, which was approved in 1978 by the United Nations and the late King Mahendra of Nepal. Now, further investigation on this Buddhist Disneyland revealed that APEF and the construction company China CMAC Engineering, a company that was actually blacklisted by the World Bank for corruption, integrity, and fake projects across Asia and South America. Now, both these companies or entities were closely tied to the Chinese government, and Prachanda himself, along with Nepal's controversial Crown Prince Paras, were among the project's key figures. The duo, Prachanda and Paras, became Nepal's real-life version of Bollywood's Bunty and Bubbly, where they sell the Taj Mahal to foreigners.
I said I can't sell the Taj Mahal, but that doesn't mean that you can't have it. You can grapple, is it?
The scheme quickly drew concerns from India, who saw it as a strategic move by China to not only control the birthplace of Buddhism, which was also a significant geopolitical site, but also control the narrative of Buddhism to align with China's interests. The United Nations had to issue a statement that it had not signed any memorandum with Prachanda nor APEF. Now, after the incredible global outrage and local protests, the Nepali government ordered a cease and desist. The failed Buddhist Disneyland scheme was China's Belt and Road Initiative. Belt and Road Initiative is a scheme to saddle smaller countries with enormous debt to ultimately force control and dominance. China, an atheist regime, also moved the Belt and Road Initiative to strategically finance Buddhist heritage sites and push Buddhism to create what many experts call a Buddhist Soft Power Corridor. This sort of pattern was further illustrated by the Ramgram Controversy, again in Lumbini, in February of 2024, when Nepal faced a déjà vu. The Ramgram Stupa is one of the 8 original relic stupas where the final remains of the Buddha were enshrined. It is the only stupa in the world that remains unopened. The 7 other stupas where the relics of the Buddha were spread are on Alakapa, Kapilavastu, Rajgiri, Vaishali, Pava, Kushinagar, and Vedapida. The Lumbini Development Trust unilaterally decided to lease out over 200 acres of the Ramgram area for 99 years to a Singapore-based Moksha Foundation for a mere 7 billion Nepali rupees, which is about 51 million US dollars. It also, of course, included the excavation and construction of a stupa. Apparently, of the 200 acres of land, 193 acres belong to residents of Lumbini this would have clearly displaced more than 400 families. So the local community and the media in Nepal became frenzy. Eventually, the Nepali government canceled all permission to hand the Ramgram to private companies and deemed it illegal and an attack on public safety. At this time, Prachanda had returned to power as prime minister for the third time in December 2022, and he was once again in the center of another controversial project in Lumbini. Moksha Foundation's counterpart in Nepal was a private company called the Promised Land. Promised Land was operated by none other than Prachanda's landlord's son, Nikesh Adhikari. It is not a coincidence that both the 2011 and 2024 controversial Lumbini projects involved Prachanda. There was an all-out political protest by all parties in Nepal, including members of his own Maoiwadi party criticizing the Supremo leader. Many also speculated that it resulted in his main political advisor, Haribol Gujaral's resignation. This case also underscores the influence of political connections in controversial land grabbing and potential exploitation of sacred sites for private gains across Nepal. Now enter Lharkyal Lama, the vice chair of the Lumbini Development Trust, who continuously ignored objections and information requests from the Nepali government. Lharkyal is a man of intrigue and contradiction. His past is shrouded in scandals and controversies, painting him as a dangerously unreliable figure in Nepal's shadowy power and political games. And so when Lharkyal was appointed vice chair of the Lumbini Development Trust in August 2023, it obviously sparked fierce debate and concerns throughout Nepal. He was appointed by none other than Prachanda. On March 11, 2024, Lumbini was to host a historic two-day conference bringing together Nobel laureates and world leaders to tackle child exploitation and advocate for rights of vulnerable communities. This conference was abruptly cancelled due to the Chinese government falsely raising claims and concerns that the event would promote a pro-Tibet and pro-Dalai Lama agenda due to the timing, just days before the sensitive anniversary of the Tibetan Uprising Day on March 10th, despite the organizers' denial. And in reality, His Holiness the Dalai Lama was never even invited to this event. On December 2024, we invited the Chinese-appointed Panchen Lama, Gyaltsen Norbu, to a Chinese-organized Nanhai Buddhist roundtable in Lumbini. This caused a massive global outrage and campaigns by Tibetan groups.
Nepal's foreign ministry told the Chinese embassy the Lama would not be allowed due to Nepal's neutrality on religious matters.
Gyaltsen Norbu is a Tibetan boy who was appointed by the Chinese government as their personal version of the Panchen Lama. The real Panchen Lama is one of the most important Tibetan Buddhist figures with the spiritual authority second only to the Dalai Lama. Historically, the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama, along with the Council of High Lamas, oversee each other's reincarnation. Like on May 14, 1995, Gedhun Choekyi Nyima was recognized by the Dalai Lama as the 11th Panchen Lama. 3 days later, the 6-year-old boy, along with his family and his teacher, Chadri Rinpoche, were abducted by the Chinese government. He became the world's youngest political prisoner, and 30 years later, their whereabouts still remain unknown. The UN, government, officials, elected, and Tibetans across the world have continued calling for their release. In fact, in 2007, the Chinese government issued a decree that all reincarnations of Tibetan Buddhist lamas inside occupied Tibet would need government approval. Otherwise, they were deemed illegal or invalid. I've actually made a short video about this. The link is in the description. Now, both the 14th Dalai Lama and the 10th Panchen Lama have visited Lumbini in 1957 as part of the celebration of the 2500th anniversary of the Buddha attending Enlightenment. His Holiness the Dalai Lama made a second visit in 1960, soon after he came to exile, and for the last time in 1987 with a permit granted by the late King Virendra, even after heavy objections from China. It is extremely troubling how China, an atheist regime, uses religion for political gain, promoting a state-controlled narrative while suppressing religious freedom in their own country and in its occupied territories. The future of Lumbini hangs in a balance. Will it remain a genuine spiritual center or become a tool in China's global power play? The battle for Lumbini is a microcosm of China's broader effort to expand its influence in Asia. UNESCO has given Nepal a final chance to restore Lumbini before placing it in an endangered list or delisting it as a heritage site due to the alarming state of conservation. The deadline is until February 1st, 2025. On the other hand, the overdevelopment of Lumbini can also get the site struck off the heritage listing like the Liverpool Maritime. The Nepali government must continue to ensure transparency and accountability in the management of Lumbini and retain it as a genuine center for Buddhist learning and pilgrimage. I sincerely hope and pray that Nepal finds the courage and conviction to follow the legacy of King Mahendra and King Virendra and to invite His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama, on a pilgrimage to Lumbini to build a beautiful and deeper connection to this holy place. To my Nepali siblings, our partnership dates back to 627 AD when our king Songtsen Gampo married your princess, Princess Brukriti Devi, a devout Buddhist, is contributed to spreading Buddhism in Tibet. King Songtsen Gampo actually built the Dzogchen Temple, one of the most important Buddhist temples in occupied Tibet, to enshrine Princess Brukriti's sacred scripture and the Johor Rinpoche statue. We Tibetans believe she was the reincarnation of the Green Tara, goddess of wisdom and compassion. We Tibetans pray to her, Om Tari Tutari Tori Soha, when we seek liberation from samsara, a release from worldly suffering. The sacred bond between Nepal and Tibet was forged through centuries of shared religion, history, food, and culture. We not only share a border, but the lifeblood of a spiritual and historical connection that transcends politics. The earth beneath Lumbini soil holds the weight of centuries of devotion. It is a gift to humanity, not a pawn in the game of power. Lumbini is also the pride and joy of every Nepali across the world. And to allow the atheist Chinese government to encroach upon Lumbini would be a dishonor not only to the profound legacy of Buddha, but to the very essence of Nepal's identity. Nepal must not falter, not even for a moment, in its duty to protect this eternal flame. Please protect Lumbini at all costs. Jai Nepal, Jai Gyalo.